Pardot Ninja.
G'day everyone. Today we're going to focus on the things you need to consider when you're building out a repeatable nurturing program. So when you're nurturing your prospects before they become marketing qualified leads, there are many different ways that you can make sure that you're keeping them engaged before you're passing them over to sales. But with Pardot Engagement Studio, especially when you've got prospects and customers that are repeat entries, there are some ways that we can really make sure that we're optimizing that, but some traps that we can fall into as well. So this episode will look into that and help you go through those considerations. Hey everyone, today we are looking at things to consider when building an MQL nurture process. Now, for those that don't understand this concept or don't understand what the acronym means, so MQL stands for Marketing Qualified Lead. And in instances where businesses want to filter prospects and qualify them further digitally before passing them over to sales, we often build out an MQL nurture process for them so that their sales team are getting super qualified leads once we pass them through the MQL process. So what we've got here is we've got a Pardot form, which is just a basic sort of 4 or 5 field form that you'd find on a contact us page or a landing page for that initial inquiry. Once that form's submitted, it's added to this particular list here, and then this list is what's feeding the engagement program. So as you can see, the first thing that we want to do, because this, and often a lot of these businesses, I should say, often have people, the same person making inquiries multiple times. Unless it's, there are some sort of SaaS providers and some finance providers that might get businesses doing that, but often in a consumer-facing business, this is pretty common. So the first thing that we want to do is we want to check whether this person who submitted the form is already a lead or a contact in Salesforce. If they are, we notify their assigned user, we remove them from the list, and the program ends. I'll get to these 2 steps in a little bit, but they're very important. If they're not, if this prospect isn't synced to a lead or a contact in the CRM, we're going to send them the first email. So we're starting to build a little bit of a relationship, or we might be qualifying further, as I said, pushing them to a second form maybe. Well, in this instance, that's exactly what we're doing. And the reason we want to do that is we might have some sort of grading system set up, or we just want to know more about this person to make sure that it's worth getting sales to speak to them. So what we've done is, once we've sent that email, we're getting Pardot to look to see if this prospect clicks on the email. If they do, we're adjusting their score by 5. So we're adding 5 to their Pardot score. And what we want to do straight after that is we want to check their Pardot score to see if it's now gone to 100 or greater. Because this business rule in this particular business is if the Pardot score is 100 or greater, they should be a marketing qualified lead and pass to sales, because they've ticked the box of having engaged with our business enough. What you can also do here is, I did mention that we're starting to build more of a profile on the prospect. You can add a second condition and check for a Pardot grade as well, so that both of them match before assigning it to sales. As you can see, like I said before, once we assign them, we remove them from the list and we end the program. Either way, we then go on to the next piece. If they haven't ended the program in these 2 steps, we will then check to see if they've completed the form. So this form in this scenario is essentially a progressive profiling form that is the second form in their journey that they'd have to fill out. So the only 2 ways that these prospects can get past to sales is if they pass the Pardot score mark of 100 or more, or they complete this second form. As you can see, both instances, they get removed from the list. So the reason why we don't have assigned to sales in this step here is because this form has a completion action where we're assigning to sales in that instance. Now in this journey, if we can't engage them to a point where we've gotten them to complete a form or their score is high enough, we'll continue to send them relevant emails and continue to check for things periodically. You might want to do it for 30 days, depending on your business strategy, and then add them just to your mailing list or to a cold list or whatever it might be. But for the purpose of this video, we want to talk about the things to consider. So you've seen, if I go back to the top, that there's this list that's adding people to this engagement program. Now this is a static list, and that's important. We recommend for an MQL engagement program to use a static list. And the reason for that is if you use a dynamic list and the prospect stops matching those rules, wherever they were in the journey is where they will essentially pause in the journey once they stop matching those rules. So what happens is if they then submit another form and that causes them to match the dynamic list rules again, they'll continue in that journey where they left off. So they won't go through the same experience, which, especially because you've got this rule here, you definitely want them to come back in again. So we've got a static list, like I said, and they'll go through this each time because we have set this up as a repeatable engagement program. So we let people come through multiple times because, like I said before, there are many businesses where they have the same person making multiple inquiries. So now that we've explained all of that, I want to put your focus here. So like I said, at each of the end stops, we've got a remove from list command. The reason why we want to remove them from the list is if they've just ended the engagement program and they're still in that list, the next day, Pardot is actually going to check and see, all right, who's in this list that needs to be added to the engagement program again? And they're going to come back around. And obviously you don't want that for a couple of reasons. You're going to end up annoying your sales team, or if they're still not converted, you're going to continue to send them emails. Either way is obviously not ideal. So that's a really important step and something to consider when you're building out these MQLs. I know that we've gone through a lot of information there. Obviously, the beauty of video is that you can go back and watch it multiple times. If you have any questions, please feel free to reach out. I'd be more than happy to help. Cheers. Hey guys, thanks for watching that episode. We hope you got a lot of value out of it. Please don't forget to subscribe and engage with the content because a lot of it is driven by you guys, the user. So we need to know your feedback. Cheers.